The first character that I came up with was Whetstone, who is the boy in the books. He is a Viking, but he is not a typical Viking. I wanted to explore what it would be like if you were in Viking society, but you didn't kind of conform to the expectations that people might have of you. So what if you weren't very good at fighting and got horribly seasick every time you went on a boat, and you were a little bit kind of shifty and sneaky? Because none of those things would be what you would want your Viking hero to be.
Tonight we feast, tomorrow we fight. The enormous man, big enough to be two normal men, but average-sized for one Viking, raised his drinking horn high into the air. Ale slopped out of it and rained down on those sitting around the rough wooden table. Another man raised his hand. Who are we fighting? Because we're not technically at war with anyone right now. The enormous man paused, his red face screwed up in thought. How about tonight we feast, tomorrow we go on a nice picnic? The other Viking continued, mopping ale off his head with his sleeve. I like picnics. No, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, replied one with tufty hair tied back in pigtails. What about tonight we feast, tomorrow we pick our toenails? Or tonight we feast, tomorrow we press flowers? Ha! After eating Ethel's cooking, it should be tonight we feast, tomorrow we have toxic turnip breath, croaked a voice from the back. Several people grumbled in agreement, then ducked as Ethel threw a ladle across the room. A Viking with a dark, brushy beard climbed ponderously to his feet and silenced the room with a loud burp. Tonight we feast, tomorrow we have an ultimate shin-kicking contest. This suggestion received an enormous cheer. The air filled with ale foam and half-chewed food as cups and plates were tossed towards the rafters. Unnoticed by anyone, a pale, scruffy boy put down the tray he carried and ducked out of the door. The boy's name was Whetstone. It wasn't a very good name and he didn't like it much, but it was all he had. Outside, the cool air tickled his white skin, making the hairs on his arms rise. Whetstone pulled his thin cloak around his shoulders and stepped away from the door. Cutting through the wispy clouds above him hung a bright yellow moon, giving him just enough light to see by. Behind him, in the Great Hall of Crud, the Vikings were still cheering. Whetstone had only been in the village for a couple of days, having managed to blag a job in the kitchens. It hadn't been hard. There wasn't exactly a queue to help clean up after Viking feasts. Trying to get grease stains off the ceiling is a nightmare.